Every ending is also a moment of choice. Before a new beginning, there is often a pause. A time to look back, remember what has been learned, and decide what comes next. Deuteronomy takes place at that moment. Israel stands on the edge of the promised land. The journey is almost over, but the decision to trust God still lies ahead. In this video, we'll walk through Deuteronomy, a book about memory, obedience, love, and choosing life. Overview. Deuteronomy is the fifth and final book of the Torah. Its name means second law, not because it introduces something new, but because it restates God's law for a new generation. The setting is simple but powerful. Moses speaks to Israel on the plains of Moab, just before they enter the land God promised to Abraham. The wilderness years are ending. Moses himself will not cross over. This book is less about movement and more about reflection. Moses retells Israel's story, reminds them of God's faithfulness, and urges them to live differently as they step into a new chapter. Deuteronomy is not a cold legal document. It is a farewell sermon, spoken with urgency, love, and deep concern. Remembering the journey, Deuteronomy 1-4. Moses begins by revisiting the past. He recounts the failures, the fear at the edge of the promised land, and the long years of wandering. This is not meant to shame the people, but to teach them. Memory in Deuteronomy is not nostalgia. It is instruction. Moses reminds Israel that God carried them through the wilderness, disciplined them, and provided for them every step of the way. Forgetting this history would lead to pride and self-reliance. Deuteronomy insists that remembering God's faithfulness is essential for future obedience. The law as love and wisdom, Deuteronomy 5-11. Moses restates the 10 Commandments, placing them at the heart of Israel's identity. But he goes further. Obedience is not presented as fear-based rule-following. It is framed as love. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, Deuteronomy 6:4-5. This command, known as the Shema, becomes central to Jewish faith. It emphasizes that devotion to God shapes daily life, from home to work to community. The law is described as wisdom, not restriction. Following God's ways leads to life, stability, and blessing. Living faithfully in the promised land, Deuteronomy 12-26. Moses then explains how Israel is to live once they settle in the land. He warns them not to imitate the surrounding nations or forget the God who rescued them. Prosperity, Moses explains, can be more dangerous than hardship. Justice, compassion, and care for the vulnerable are emphasized throughout these chapters. Widows, orphans, and foreigners are to be protected. Deuteronomy makes it clear that faith is not private. Love for God must shape how people treat one another. Blessings, curses, and the weight of choice, Deuteronomy 27-30. As Moses nears the end of his speech, the tone grows more urgent. He presents two paths. Obedience leads to blessing and life. Disobedience leads to hardship and loss. These are not arbitrary rewards and punishments. They reflect the natural outcome of aligning with or resisting God's ways. Then Moses delivers one of the most powerful invitations in Scripture. I have set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Now choose life, Deuteronomy 30:19. Deuteronomy frames faith as a daily choice, not a one-time decision. Moses' final words and legacy, Deuteronomy 31-34. The book closes with Moses preparing Israel for leadership under Joshua. Moses blesses the tribes, writes down the law, and ascends Mount Nebo. From there, he sees the promised land from a distance. Moses dies outside the land, but his mission is complete. Deuteronomy ends with reflection. There has never been another prophet like Moses, one who spoke with God face to face. The journey continues, even as the leader steps aside. Key themes in Deuteronomy. The power of remembering. Memory shapes faith and obedience. Love is the foundation of the law. Obedience flows from relationship, not fear. Choice and responsibility. Faith requires intentional decisions. Blessing through alignment. Life flourishes when aligned with God's ways. Leadership and legacy. Faith is passed from one generation to the next. Preparation for a new season. Before moving forward, reflection is essential. Key verses in Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy 4 verse 9, do not forget the things your eyes have seen. A call to remember. Deuteronomy 6 verses 4 to 5, love the Lord your God. The heart of the book. Deuteronomy 8 verse 2, remember how the Lord led you. Faith shaped by memory. Deuteronomy 10 verse 12, what does the Lord require of you? A summary of faithful living. Deuteronomy 30 verse 19, choose life. The central invitation. Deuteronomy 34 verse 10, no prophet like Moses. A closing tribute. Relevance Today. Deuteronomy speaks directly to moments of transition. It addresses people stepping into new seasons, facing fresh opportunities, or standing at important crossroads. It reminds us that success can distract just as easily as hardship. The book challenges shallow faith. It calls for love that shapes decisions, habits, and values. Deuteronomy reminds us that faith is not inherited automatically. It must be chosen, remembered, and lived. Closing thought. Deuteronomy leaves us with a simple but demanding truth. God's ways lead to life. But life must be chosen. Before Israel steps into the promised land, they are invited to remember, to love, and to decide who they will trust. The same choice still stands today.